When someone like Pol Espargaro, a former MotoGP rider and one-time teammate of Marc Marquez at Honda, admits that no one can reach the limits of the Spanish superstar, you know it's not just admiration. It's a statement about the very boundaries of human capability in motorcycle racing. Paul, who once shared the same garage as Marquez, knows firsthand how the 8-time world champion operates, both physically and mentally. Speaking about Marc's debut season with Ducati in 2025, Espargaro didn't hold back in expressing just how far beyond normal comprehension Marquez's riding truly is. Marc doesn't just ride on the edge, he lives there. When you see a limit, Marc has already reached it, gone past it, and found a way to use it. According to Paul, this is what separates Marquez from the rest of the MotoGP grid. Most riders understand their bike's limits, the traction, the front-end feel, the braking threshold. But when those limits become visible, they back off. They respect the boundary, knowing that pushing further could end with a crash in the gravel. Marc doesn't stop. He redefines the limit every single lap. That's something no amount of training can replicate. Marc Marquez's ability to manipulate the motorcycle at the very edge of control is something that has fascinated riders and engineers for years. Espargaro recalls how, even at Honda, Marquez would do things that seemed physically impossible, saving front-end slides that should have resulted in a crash, leaning the bike at angles that defy physics, and braking so late it forced others to question the limits of human reflex. When a normal rider feels the front tire slipping, they pick up the bike to save it. Marc? He pushes harder. He somehow makes the bike recover. It's like he speaks a language that only the motorcycle understands. That language, the ability to feel the machine, is what Espargaro believes makes Marquez almost alien in his talent. It's not just about courage or aggression, but a sixth sense that allows him to dance on the knife's edge between control and catastrophe. Now that Marquez rides for Ducati, a machine already regarded as the most powerful and balanced on the grid, that unique ability has found its perfect partner. In Espargaro's words, the marriage between Marc and Ducati is a dangerous harmony. With Honda, Marc was fighting against the bike. With Ducati, he's finally found a machine that responds to him. That's why he's unstoppable this season. He doesn't just ride the Ducati, he becomes one with it. For Ducati, Marquez's influence has been massive. Engineers have described his feedback as hyper-detailed, while other riders in the paddock admit that his style has pushed them to rethink what's possible on two wheels. It's not just skill, it's adaptation. Marc doesn't impose his will on the bike. He interprets it, molds his style around it, and turns the limitations into new strengths. Espargaro also emphasized that Marquez's advantage is not purely technical, it's psychological. He's fearless. Every crash, every injury, every comeback, it only makes him stronger. He treats pain like data. He learns from it. Indeed, few riders in MotoGP history have shown the mental fortitude of Marc Marquez. After multiple surgeries and injuries that could have ended his career, he returned not just competitive, but dominant once again. It's not human, Espargaro admitted. You can train your body endlessly, but you can't train your brain to think like Marc's does when he's on the bike. Espargaro's final words were simple, but heavy with respect. You will never surpass Marc's limit, no matter how hard you train, because Marc's limit is not physical. It's something deeper. He doesn't just race, he feels every part of what he rides. It's a statement that defines Marquez's legacy. A rider who doesn't just find the limit of a motorcycle, but lives beyond it. As long as he keeps pushing that invisible boundary, MotoGP may never see another rider quite like him.
Phillip Island, Australia. The red garage of Ducati looks strangely quiet this weekend because for the first time this season, the familiar energy of Marc Marquez is missing. The 8-time world champion is still recovering from a serious shoulder blade fracture, an injury that has shaken both his fans and the Ducati camp. After a terrifying crash during the MotoGP Mandalika 2025, Marquez underwent surgery on his right scapula or shoulder blade on Monday, October 13. The operation was successful, but the road to recovery will not be quick. Doctors have advised a full rehabilitation period that could stretch up to 16 weeks, meaning his return this season remains uncertain. Ducati has now confirmed that Marquez will miss both the Australian and Malaysian Grand Prix, two races that come just 1 week apart. While fans were hoping for a miracle comeback, Ducati has chosen compassion over pressure. "There is no need to rush," said Davide Tardosi, Ducati Lenovo team manager. "We want Marc back only when he's 100% fit. We'll wait as long as it takes." Those words carry a deep emotional weight. It's not just about missing a rider, it's about losing the heartbeat of a team. Marquez's presence inside the Ducati box has transformed the squad since his arrival. His feedback, determination, and data on the Desmosedici GP25 have often been the key reference for other riders, including Francesco Bagnaia. Without him, Ducati looks less certain, less complete. Yet Tardosi insists that the team will not sacrifice Marquez's health for short-term gains. "We'll see in a few weeks after his next medical checkup," Tardosi explained. "Our hope is to have Marc back in Valencia for the final race of the season, but if he's not ready, we'll wait. His physical recovery matters more than anything else." Behind those statements lies a painful truth. Marquez's injury could effectively end his 2025 season. Spanish sports doctor Pedro Luis Ripoll shared his medical perspective earlier this week, predicting that the injury might require up to 4 months of rest before the rider can return to full strength. "A scapula fracture is delicate," Ripoll said. "It involves both bone and muscular recovery. For a MotoGP rider, that means months of careful rehabilitation." For Ducati, it's a bittersweet moment. The team had finally built its dream lineup, the combination of Marc Marquez and Francesco Bagnaia, two world champions united in red. Their chemistry brought Ducati its golden era, dominating most of the 2025 season. But fate, once again, has tested Marquez's resilience. Fans who have followed his career know this feeling all too well. Marquez has fought through countless injuries before, broken arms, dislocations, surgeries, yet he always came back stronger. His story is one of pain and perseverance. Now, as the paddock moves on to Australia and Malaysia without him, everyone wonders, will the baby alien rise again in Valencia? Whether he returns this season or not, one thing is certain. Marc Marquez's spirit continues to drive Ducati forward. His determination has already changed the team's culture, and even in recovery, his influence remains powerful. As Tardosi summarized it emotionally, Marc doesn't need to prove anything anymore. What matters now is that he heals completely. When he's back, he'll be stronger, like he always is. For now, the red seat waits, empty but full of hope, for the return of its fearless warrior.
In a heartfelt and emotional reflection, MotoGP legend Jorge Lorenzo has paid a glowing tribute to Marc Marquez, calling him a mental monster after the Spaniard's stunning return to the top of world motorcycling. The 32-year-old Marquez ended his 6-year title drought last month, securing his 7th Premier Class World Championship at the Japanese Grand Prix. It marked the completion of one of the greatest comeback stories in MotoGP history, a journey that began with a devastating injury in 2020 and an incredibly risky move away from Honda in 2023. After years of frustration with an uncompetitive Honda RC213V, Marquez made the bold decision to join Gresini Racing Ducati in 2024. Riding a one-year-old Desmosedici, he instantly proved his brilliance still burned bright, taking multiple podiums, 11 Grand Prix victories, and 14 sprint wins since the Indonesian GP. His consistency and raw speed were enough to convince the Ducati Lenovo team to sign him for 2025, a move that led directly to his return to world champion status. For Jorge Lorenzo, who knows Marquez better than most, this achievement hits deep. The two Spaniards were fierce rivals throughout the 2010s. Marquez famously dethroned Lorenzo in 2013 during his rookie season, sparking one of MotoGP's most intense eras. Later, in 2019, the two briefly became teammates at Repsol Honda, though Lorenzo struggled with injuries and retired at the end of that season. Speaking to TNT Sport during the Indonesian Grand Prix weekend, Lorenzo couldn't hide his admiration for the man who once stood on the opposite side of his battles. "It's unbelievable," Lorenzo said, visibly impressed. "The strength in his mind, his mental power, it's just incredible. He's strong physically, mentally, and technically. Marc is a complete rider." Lorenzo continued by describing Marquez's career as almost mathematical, a perfect formula of talent, intelligence, and persistence that leads inevitably to victory. "As I've always said, anyone who joins MotoGP in their rookie season and wins the world title immediately has something special. He's still the best at 32 years old, and now with the best bike, the results are just mathematics." That single word, mathematics, perfectly sums up the essence of Marc Marquez. His approach to racing has always combined precise calculation with fearless aggression. Even after suffering one of the worst injuries in MotoGP history, Marquez never gave up. Instead, he rebuilt himself, physically, mentally, and emotionally, until he was ready to conquer again. In 2025, Marquez not only returned to the top, but did it in dominant fashion, silencing critics who once said he was finished. His story has now become a symbol of mental resilience, proving that champions aren't just born, they're forged through pain, perseverance, and the refusal to quit. Lorenzo's respect captures what the entire MotoGP paddock feels: admiration for a rider who redefined the limits of human endurance and mental strength. Marc Marquez isn't just back, he's rewritten what a comeback means in MotoGP.